We ready?
Yeah.
Welcome back to episode 26 of the Living Room Chat podcast. Ryan here, Matt there, and we're on tour today, Matt. Well, we're not really on tour, but we're in a different location. Why don't you tell us where we are?
So this is my office, which feels very cool to say. I mean, it's not mine. I don't own all this. I own a little, or I rent a little.
I was going to say, it's quite a big office for you to own.
Yeah, just a little cubicle upstairs. Would you say it's a cubicle?
No, a cubicle.
No, it is an office.
Somewhere you piss, isn't it? No, it's an office space. It's good. It's a nice little setting though. But
Yeah.
it's kind of got the living room vibe, isn't it? This little section here.
Yeah, I thought this would be cool. We could do it here. Hopefully, it sounds okay. But let's just see.
Yeah, it's a bit of background noise, but that's fine. It makes us sound well. We got the mics on, so we're fine, aren't we?
You're on my good side. I feel like now we're 26 episodes in. I should tell the listeners I have bad hearing in this ear, and this ear's fine. So Ryan's always on this side.
But that's kind of our vibe now, isn't it? I'm on the left, you're on the right. That's how people see us. It's Matt and Ryan.
Do you ever look at your face in photos or in the mirror sometimes and realise each side is different?
Yeah. My face
Weird.
is not symmetrical.
Weird, isn't it?
That's a little bit lower on one side.
Yeah.
Random start, mate.
Strange.
Random start. So we're going to talk about, I've got a good news story. You know, in the doom and gloom within the media, with mortgage rates, property decline, all this bollocks. I'll tell you about a real live case that's happened in the last week. There's a success story just to show the market's not on its knees and things are still selling. I think you want to talk about the pros and cons of buying with another party that's not a family member. Or maybe a family member, but not a...
Just going in jointly with someone on a property purchase.
I want to discuss one-stop shop brokers. I'll tell you why. I've got a client that was using a financial advisor, but they weren't just a financial advisor. They also sorted out the solicitors for the client, sorted out the surveyor for the clients, and they pay one cost that covers it all. Is it good? Is it bad? I have my views. Interesting to hear yours. And then the last but not least is, what do people actually need information-wise to give to estate agents before they physically book a viewing? It's quite important because we've all had it where, can I have your current address? Why do you need that? Oh, you're going to be one of those, are you? So we'll talk about the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Do you want to finish your sweep before we start chatting?
Well, I was just thinking that because I'm here like making mouth noises right by the microphone.
Okay, cool. Let's just cut for a minute. Finish your sweet up. I crunched it and I swallowed it and it got stuck in my throat. They're quite nice though, minty fresh. You finished your sweet, you're ready to carry on.
Sweet.
So where should we start then?
I want to hear about your success story.
Amazing, thank you very much. I thought it was quite a topical conversation because a lot of the media that we see and a lot of the news stories are the markets heading into a serious decline. Like how many news articles do you see where they say, prices are going to drop 10%, there's no buyers buying? It's complete bollocks.
It is bollocks.
Don't get me wrong, the market is challenging.
It's challenging.
Things are different, but let me tell you about this success story. So, followed our normal blueprint, launched property online on our own website and on our social medias. Had a couple of viewings book in, so I arranged this was on Saturday. Sellers were getting a bit of work done to the house during the week, so I wasn't going to officially launch it on Rightmove or Zoopla until the Thursday evening. Did that, had a block viewing scheduled for Sunday. We received 22 inquiries in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
So I had 10 viewings booked in for the Sunday. All 10 turned up. I confirmed all the appointments in the morning. Everyone was keen to view. From those 10 viewings, I generated 5 offers, 2 of which are asking price, and then 2 were also above the asking price. So we had the pick of the buyer. So we went through all of the information down to when their agreement principles were valid from, what solicitors they're using. I got all the information I needed so we can make the right decision for the client. We've got a reservation, secure sale reservation agreement set up. That sale is watertight. And that, from the moment it went to market to the moment we've sent out paperwork, it's been 6 days.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, people might say, well, it's too cheap, or that there's a market for anything. There is a market for anything if you price correctly. I wasn't the cheapest estate agent in terms of value. There was one agent that valued it less than me. So I believe it was the right value. And it's gone 10 grand over what I valued it at in a declining market where no one's buying.
It goes to show that blueprint
Correct marketing.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, the marketing, the blueprint really, really works. And also, the price you pitch at is not the fixed price.
No, exactly.
So 10 grand over the asking price, there's an assumption that whatever the asking price is, this is what it's going to close for, and that's just not the case at all.
Absolutely, and the sellers are ecstatic, and like I'm ecstatic because we've gone on at a certain price, we've got more money for them from probably the world's best buyer, like everything. Like I'm talking to you whilst I've been with you this afternoon, they're literally texting me about doing their ID checks and everything, like literally agreed to sell this morning. Everything's being sorted, it's perfect. So
Amazing.
just wanted to start off with a good success story. If you are selling your home at the moment, don't listen to estate agents when they say the market's dead, people aren't buying, you've got to reduce your price. Maybe a fresh approach, a different view on things is what's needed.
Yeah, and don't listen to people when they say the market's dead, but also don't listen to people when they say the market's as busy as it's ever been.
Because it hasn't.
I think we're in this kind of in-between period. The market, the headlines at the end of last year were saying the market's going to decline 30%. It hasn't.
No.
And we're just in this period where...
It's a limbo period. I mean, as I said, it is challenging. It absolutely is challenging, and we're not naive enough to say that it's the same as it was, because it's not. But pricing correctly, I made one of my statements, I said this, if you price correctly according to the market you're in, then you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And that's true. If you're in a declining market, don't pitch 10 grand above what it's worth, pitch 10 grand below. You'll get sold.
And another phrase I like is price for the market of tomorrow.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, like that.
So if the market's going up, like it was in 2021, for example, a 500 house might well be worth 525 in a
couple
few
of months.
Do you know what I mean?
So price it that high, and why not?
So you can do it that, but now we're kind of the opposite almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just thinking about tomorrow, because of course the sale you agree actually doesn't get locked in for perhaps 3 or 4 months afterwards.
Exactly.
So it's thinking about, is this buyer going to be comfortable? Are their financing arrangements going to be just the same 3 or 4 months down the line?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. I thought let's kick us off with that story. But next topic I wanted to hear about, obviously, pros and cons of buying with someone else. Now, obviously, I've never had this. I brought with Lauren, but we've been together and we've been married, so it's different. But you obviously brought your home with your brother, and now you're in the process of considering selling. So it'd be interesting to hear from your perspective, what are the pros and what are the cons?
So I think from a very basic perspective, the pros are the barrier to entry is 50% lower if you do it with someone else.
Of course.
So that was the thing with me and my brother, is our house was 250k, 12.5 grand each, which was, being honest, quite an easy amount. It wasn't easy to save, but it wasn't like some people were just paralysed by the thought of saving £30,000 from scratch. Whereas this felt quite manageable.
12.5, you can do that. If you knuckle down and worked hard and saved every single penny, you could probably do that in a year to 18 months.
Yeah. So and we just had like real commitment. We were gonna buy this house together, and it was, and it got us onto a ladder. We bought it at a good price. Now we're gonna sell it 3 years later. We'll have each made some equity, and then we'll move on. And just for us, it just meant getting on the housing ladder was easier. That said, we trusted each other, and we had that family link. So I think there's a balance to be struck where you need to have a certain level of relationship with someone to go into that. And you need to be aware of the sort of...
The challenges, because
challenges.
Like you could easily fall out. I mean, I suppose it's the same as a divorce, isn't it, or separation, but you can fall out with a friend quite easily, you can fall out with your brother easily, and then suddenly you're stuck with a mortgage together. And there's one thing being friends or family, but actually when you're locked in together legally, it's different. It has different pitfalls, isn't it?
And we've had, we fell out one time like really badly, and it made the house situation just awkward to talk about. So maybe it's different with family versus with a friend, but I think it does lower that barrier to entry.
So that's the biggest pro. Is you can basically get a bigger property for less money, effectively. For buying someone else. What about when you come to sell, though? Because obviously now you've got a, one of the pet hates for me, I hate chains full stop, but split chains. When you've got two people looking to leave one property and buy separate ones, and you've got two sets of issues to deal with, two sets of other estate agents, it can be a nightmare.
So I mean, for us, he's moving into rented, and we're going to probably move in with parents. So
she's fine.
We'll just sell, but we're doing that very intentionally. Because
you also hate chains.
Because I hate chains. So, yeah, so that's a big part of the decision. But I guess it makes it more complicated going in and then more complicated coming out on the back end too.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, I think trust is the key thing.
Yeah.
But especially in the south of England where property prices are so expensive,
Yeah.
I really don't like the narrative of people not feeling like they can get on a housing ladder.
Yeah.
I just really want...
Which would be for a lot of the people, to be fair, wouldn't it?
I think so, yeah. 'Cause
imagine being like, I know obviously we bought, in our 20s, but there's a lot of people that, like, imagine being like early 30s now and thinking, I've got no chance of buying somewhere at the moment. Like even buying a 2-bed flat for 275 grand on your own, or with a partner, you've still got to save 30 grand. You're still going to be able to get quite a chunk on a mortgage.
Yeah.
Must be a lot of pressure, because you almost feel like a lot of pressure. I mean, I don't know if you, obviously I would never had it because we've owned, but if you meet someone who's in their 30s and, where do you live? Yeah, oh yeah, renting. Oh, you don't own yet. It's like a,
Yeah.
it's like a setting that should be done. Like these life goals, you like mid-30s, you should be married with a mortgage with a baby. Like that's the stereotypical way of life.
I think
and if you eat none of them,
the average homeowner, I think, is 30 or 30.
I think it's over 30, the average first-time buyer.
It's like 30 to 33, somewhere in that.
It should be going up and up and up, isn't it?
Yeah. And, you could say, well, people are living longer and houses are more expensive and people are staying at home longer and people are having kids later, so maybe there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
But then I wonder, what would I have done if I hadn't have shared with my brother?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have been able to afford it on your own. You maybe would have bought shared ownership or bought a one-bed flat.
Well, what I'd have done is bought a studio flat for maybe 130k.
Yeah.
And lived there and be selling it now 2 or 3 years later.
At 130.
Hopefully having made some...
135.
Maybe 130. Hopefully having made some equity, maybe 20k in equity.
Yeah.
And the important thing for people to remember about their first property, you're not going to be in it forever.
No.
It's a step on the ladder.
It's almost like, don't necessarily worry too much about the aesthetics of the property.
No.
Look at the numbers. Look at heights of markets, how quickly they sell, what price they've sold for. Is it a good value? Do you see it as good value there? Don't play over the odds. And if you're buying leasehold, just make sure, for fuck's sake. Sorry, 10 minutes in. That was pretty good for us, 10 minutes in. I can go at it. Make sure it's got a decent lease. That's the key, I think.
Yeah, read the bloody lease is the catchphrase of the day.
Read the bloody lease.
But yeah, because your first purchase will either set you up or it will cripple you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and had we have our first home we're about to sell together, had we of overpaid for that,
be much more challenging to do what you need to do now, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Because obviously you're pulling out like best part of 20 grand each, plus what you put in, which is awesome. But if you paid over the odds and didn't have that, imagine you were just breaking even in 3 years. It's almost like a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, and then you've got costs and you've got.
But people get people do get that. Like, I've never sold a property for less money than I paid for. And I don't imagine there's huge amounts of people that have.
It does happen though. Doesn't
It does happen, yeah. But it's like buying a car, isn't it? If you sell a car for less money, you'd expect to do that because it appreciates. But houses are the opposite. They're supposed to appreciate in value. So I think if you sell quite quickly, it's quite difficult. But.
There are always outliers, aren't there? And I think even in a market that's going up, there's people who sell for maybe less than it's worth. And then I noticed in 2021 for the first time, sales were going through, and I thought, is that going to seem expensive in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And now you're looking back and think, fuck, gave out a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
People that completed in September, October last year, just as the market started to turn, and paid premium prices in the summer.
Yeah, it's just, again, thinking of the market of tomorrow.
Yeah, there we go.
So
I'll be interested to get your views on this topic. So that good news story I was mentioning there at the start of the episode, we talked about multiple offers on properties, but one of the buyers was an interesting one. I've never come across it before. The broker they were working with had affiliated companies around them, and it was almost like a one-stop shop brokerage. So they did a mortgage, which is what your mortgage broker is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But they also provided the solicitors, and they also could provide the surveyors. The surveyors are optional. And it got me thinking, because I thought it's a really bad thing, because, and I'll tell you why, the solicitor they were recommending, and this isn't a rant at solicitors, by the way, that's another episode, but the solicitor they were recommending was one of the up north ones that we don't like. Volume conveyances, low service levels, low quality, never return your calls. And I said to the client, I was like, look, it's cool if you want to, I'm not saying you have to use them, but I'm just saying if you want to use them, you're not buying this house. It's as simple as that, because I've got multiple offers, and if I want someone to use a reputable high street firm that I know and trust, if you can't provide that information to say you're going to do that, then you're not going to buy this house. But it got me thinking, because are brokerages doing that? Is that no different to estate agents selling financial advisors, selling solicitor recommendations? Is it the same process, or do we deserve the right to do that because we're controlling the sale? Brokers are just one cog in it.
I think whichever way it is, people would have an issue with like controlling the sale. So it kind of is the same thing, isn't it? But it isn't.
But it isn't, because the way I look at it is estate agents are providing recommendations to companies that they affiliated with and they work with. And ultimately, who's going to be, all right, solicitors deal with the sale process. That it can't happen without them. But the estate agent plays a pivotal role in making that transaction happen, dealing with the issues, managing expectations. Not the broker.
No.
He doesn't manage the seller's expectations, I have to, or you have to. So by using a solicitor that they recommend, when they're involved in the process, 3 weeks at the start? Once the mortgage offer's out, they're done?
Yeah, and it does annoy me sometimes with buyers. Buyers will have a relationship with a broker, ideally, before they find the house they want to buy.
Yeah.
So if the broker has said, oh, these are the solicitors you should be using, because the broker's getting a £400 kickback.
You can understand why a naive buyer would, because they don't do it for a living, would be like, oh, he's great, he's trying to help me, solicitors all the same.
Yeah. And just thinking it's a case of price.
So I spent, like when I was going through negotiations, there was 2 clients that had this, they were going to use a broker recommended solicitor. I had to have the same conversation, 15, 20 minutes to educate them on why that's not a good idea to do it. And I kept having to say, look, by the way, I'm not here selling my solicitors. I don't take kickbacks from solicitors. As one I have a small arrangement with, but nothing like high street estate agents. I'm not here to do that. I just want the best for you, my seller more importantly, and also the transaction, because I want to deal with people that I trust.
Yeah.
And they all say the same. They all say the same thing. Oh, don't worry, my broker said they're really good. Like, he trusts them, I trust them. They deal with hundreds and hundreds of transactions every week, and I was like, cool.
That's the problem.
That's my problem.
Yeah. And because our whole goal is to get the thing done and exchanged and completed, isn't it? Which sounds so bleeding obvious, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. Do you ever have run-ins with financial advisors?
I mean, I wanted to view a house. I've inquired to view a house. I had to call from the agent today. Yeah. Asking me what my situation is. Saying, oh, well, before we put this in, we need you to take a call from our financial advisor. You know,
really?
It's like,
why?
Why? Yeah. You know, and it just put me off the whole thing. It just starts the whole thing on a bad note. Yeah. But I do, not run in so much, but I like to look at financial advisors as we're on the same team. Yeah. You're helping the buyer, I'm helping the seller. We're both working for the deal. Yeah. You get paid on completion, I get paid on completion. Yeah. We're kind of buddies in this. Do you know what I mean? But it's never the way. I wouldn't say I have particular run-ins. I try and be, as you said, try and create a relationship with some of financial advisors. But some of them, I think, they're just way too big for their boots. Like, again, this is maybe the arrogant estate agent in us, but we're not. We're like, coming back to that point, we're the playmaker. We're the Tom Brady of the deal. We're the quarterback. You know, everything goes through us. Everything runs through us. This team ain't going to win unless we play well. Yeah? Love that. Great analogy. Love that shit. So solicitors need to be on board with us, and we need to work closely with them. Seller and buyer, obviously, and then financial advisor. But it's not the other way around. I think some brokers sometimes act like they're more important than they are. You're doing the buyer's mortgage. What's your goal? You're doing the buyer's mortgage. Nothing to do with the transaction, nothing to do with the legals, nothing to do with the survey issues. You are doing the buyer's mortgage. So it's probably makes up 15% of the whole transaction process. I appreciate the buyer can't buy without it. There's an argument to say, well, it's necessary because the buyer's finance is a key part of a deal.
But you'll
But
know in the
that
first
said-
4 weeks if they're not going to get the finance because they won't have a mortgage buyout booked in, or they get declined on
Yeah.
credit. So,
yeah.
like,
So
the-
really,
for a third of the process, they're important. Other than that, they're not.
but so the relationship with a mortgage broker really should be a month-long thing tops, really.
Yeah, it literally should be.
You get the offer, you speak with a broker.
Yeah.
If the offer's
And
accepted.
the only other point is if there's a renegotiation in price and they need to reissue a mortgage offer.
Yeah.
That's straight to the lender anyway.
Yeah. I don't
Make
know.
it look at us. 2 episodes ago, we pissed off plumbers. Yeah, last episode, possibly we may have pissed off car service people.
Car mechanics.
Car
yeah.
mechanics, that's it. And now we're on to brokers. We're on a roll here.
Yeah,
and we're
just-
not angry people, sorry. We're not really trying to have a go at people. We're just speaking the truth, aren't we, mate?
I just didn't get my boiler serviced and upset everyone. And now I'm going to kill all my family.
Go on, keep going on about that. Anyway, there we go. Interesting times, though. Brokers are nice people.
No, they are. I mean, some are, some
Yeah.
aren't. I just, communication. Like, it's just communication. Like, when I reach out to a broker, I'm always like, here's the link for the property advert so you can see all the stuff you need to see.
Yeah.
You know, just tell me what the crack is.
I do completely understand, just from that final point, I do completely understand where buyers are coming from, because every person they speak to is trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
And when they're speaking to us, it doesn't matter if they've met us for half an hour viewing or spoke to us on the phone, all estate agents are painted with the same brush. I know what I do, and I know what I do is different, and build a relationship with those clients. But at the same time, when you're dealing with it at the start, and someone's telling you to use someone that you don't want to use, that you've never heard of, I can understand why they'd be a bit standoffish, think, hang on a minute, who's this guy?
With such alien things, I think surveyors, mortgage brokers, estate agents, obviously buyers don't use estate agents, they just...
No, just
Yeah.
work through them. Interesting times, though. I think I can understand where they're coming from. That's just our job, to give them all the information, educate them properly. Ultimately, they can do what they want. But I just stand by the fact, if they do what they want, that's cool. No problem at all. Just not going to buy through me.
Yeah, I think our job is to manage the transaction, isn't it? And I think perhaps there's not enough emphasis on the quality of the buyer and the commitment of the buyer.
Yeah.
So having someone who is paying a great price, but you know is going to be rock solid.
Yeah.
You know, a buyer's enthusiasm, I think, actually counts for a lot.
I think you can tell, and I think this is why one of the most important things I try and put across to sellers is because I'm personally doing your own viewings. I'm personally going to meet the person who buys your house. No one else. I'm going to meet them.
Yeah.
And you can tell an awful lot about the buying signs, the way people conduct themselves, whether they're on time, whether they're polite, whether you can just gauge from people. And it's not 100% accurate, but it's a lot more accurate than not meeting them.
No, it is, isn't it? And for this deal, for example, the buyer gave all of the right signals,
Yeah,
and then the property goes under offer. And as soon as the property's under offer, the leverage kind of goes to the buyer a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
So that's where we're there to sort of put that pressure on.
Yeah.
Make sure it doesn't just sit for a week, 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
things are always moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Interesting.
Yeah.
It actually moves very nicely. I would call that a segue, my friend.
You haven't said the word segue in a little while.
We haven't done it for a few episodes, have we? But let's segue nicely on from the viewing and meeting people face to face on exactly what people should what information is relevant and what information is needed to give to estate agents. You had a prime example a few seconds ago when you said, phone up to view a house, estate agent phones you back and says, great, I can book you in, but before I book you in, I need you to speak to my financial advisor. That is not right. I understand their standpoint. Well, we're doing right by the client, we'll make sure you're financial. No, you don't. No, you're not. You're just trying to close a mortgage broker lead because you get paid 300 quid for it.
They said, there's no obligation to use them. They're just going to ask you some basic questions.
That's, and I've run offices like that where we've done that, and I do understand because you don't want to waste your time with someone who can't afford to buy the house.
Yeah.
But there is almost an element of trust. Like if someone, when I speak to buyers and I'll say, what's your mortgage situation? And everyone will say, got an agreement in principle. And I ask them a very quick question, is that through a broker or is that direct to the lender? And that response will give me the answer I need, because sometimes I go, it's through a broker. Cool, you're lying. Or, actually I went direct to lender, it's HSBC. Oh, brilliant, okay. What made you go direct to them? And you start the conversation, you can gauge a picture quite quickly.
Yeah.
But should we list off the most important things, or the things that have to be done?
Well, the things we get, say with your average Rightmove or Zoopla inquiry, a name sometimes,
Or half a name,
half a name,
a nickname.
a phone number, and an email address.
Yeah.
And if we're lucky, we'll get a residential address
Yeah.
and whether they have a house to sell.
Yeah.
That's it. But usually it's just a name, phone number, and email address.
Because I'm pretty laid back on this. Like, again, I'm speaking to the buyers from the start, so you name them there. Name, number, email address, current address for where they live, and position, rented, mortgage, whatever, rented or selling, and then financial position. They're the key questions I ask. That's all I need to register someone. If someone turns around and says, I'm not going to give you my mortgage information, I want to see the house first, and they've given me all the other information, I'll take a view on it. I don't need, legally I don't need that information to show them the house, but I have an issue, and it's happened throughout your career. When you ask someone their current address, and they say, well, I'm not going to give you that, why do I need to give you that? Like, it's not a problem. Like, I'm not going to send you anything. I just need to know where you live.
And you want to come to someone else's address to have a look around,
Yeah.
but be secretive about your address.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
And I used to say, when I was there, if people ever say that, so I need to register in our system, and I can't register without an address. And then someone caught me out on that and said, well, why don't you put ... instead of address and postcode? I was like, oh, smart guy. And then so I changed it, and I just said I need it for security.
I think it should be for security. I don't know what the Ombudsman says about this or legally what we're meant to ask for.
Yeah.
But for security, you should have someone's address if you're going to show them around another address.
But I don't understand why it's a problem. I genuinely don't understand why it's a problem. Why would you not want to give your address out?
Because people are concerned that you're going to know where they live and
why? So it doesn't matter,
maybe
does it?
send them stuff. But sending stuff's going to be more annoying on email than it is through the
and I've got your contact number. But I just, like, some people that said, no, you've got my phone number, that's all you need. And I was like, cool, if that's the way you want to play it, you're going to be far more challenging to deal with than I even want to comprehend. So I'm not even interested in working with you. Go away.
Yeah, it's like we've said before about, buyers need to make friends with the agent almost.
And people that I can understand, like, that's probably the key when you phone up and give the information to the estate agent. Those are the things you need, your contact details, make sure you know your financial position, what you do in your mortgage, and what is your situation when you're rented, etc. And that's really all you need to present.
Yeah.
It should be all you need anyway.
Someone wouldn't give me their address when I'm trying to book in a viewing. They said, why do you need that? I said, well, there was a case in the 80s where a estate agent was murdered, so we need to ask for addresses from everyone, just so we know where you live if you murder us.
Do you know who that was?
There's Susie...
Lampu.
Lampu, I didn't know how to pronounce it.
That's fine. You did know, though. I think not many people know about that, but it is the reason. Because do you know the story of how that happened?
So she was it was in the 80s, wasn't it?
I think, it must 80s, early 90s, that sort of time.
She was an estate agent.
Yeah.
She went out to a viewing and never came back.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. And never been found.
Ever.
Yeah, she was due to meet someone, and in her one diary it just had it wasn't a viewing, and that's all it said in her diary. No number, no contact details. Went out, never came back, never seen again. And that's why from day one, I remember in the estate agency when I had a little bit of training when I started, it's like you never always tell someone where you're going. I suppose in the society we live in, it's probably slightly different for a bloke.
Yeah, it is.
But,
and we have iPhones now.
Yeah, so the world's changed a lot, but it's still at the same time. But anyway, that's why we need your address. And just don't be difficult. Like, just give us your address. Like, we're not going to do anything with it.
That's the problem. And if it all goes well and you buy this house, you'll have a new address anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, should we wrap it up?
I think we should, mate.
Nice.
It's been, I don't know, hopefully the audio's been okay for everyone, because obviously we're in a busier environment than we normally are when it's silent, and you can only hear the sound of our own voices.
You know, on a Saturday, I love it coming here on a Saturday because it's empty.
Yeah.
No cars in the car park. You can still get in here and it's just dead.
Nice.
It's great.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, anyway, so that's been episode 26. We're rattling through 4 more of them in the big 3-0. Imagine when we've done more episodes than we are old.
That'll be the next checkpoint.
Be very soon. Right, thanks everyone so much for watching, listening, commenting, engaging. Make sure you follow us on socials, TikTok, Facebook. We need to do more on Facebook, to be fair.
YouTube.
Anyway, Instagram, YouTube. YouTube's the one. Love our little YouTube shorts. But thanks ever so much. We'll see you soon.